Hi everyone, my name's Ellie. I'm a senior animal science major. And just like everyone else here, I'm here to talk to you about my wonderful opportunity that I had with this program. And I also worked at the same place as Winnie, the Lab of Ornithology, so this may be a little repetitive, but we both had a great time together. So what I'd like to talk to you today is about how simple a communications challenge can actually be. And for me, that was dipping my toes into the world of scientific journalism, because before this, prior, I had absolutely no background. So I worked at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. If you haven't been there, it's an amazing place. Definitely go. And if you must know, I do love birds now. The mission of this lab is to interpret and conserve Earth's biodiversity through education, research, and citizen science. And so the communications team is like an integral part of spreading this mission. So it was an honor to take part in that. So the first thing that I walked in and I thought, what kind of impact can an 8-week intern like me do with little to no science journalism background? And then what kind of impact can a large nonprofit organization like the Lab of Ornithology make, even though they already make it? So in thinking about that, I had to ask, where did I need to start? How am I going to make this impact? Well, for me, it was starting at the backbone of writing a story and learning the best way to do that. So, of course, you start with an idea, and this is what I'll be emphasizing. A main idea draws the reader in, keeps the reader interested, and that's what the whole story revolves around. But sometimes those ideas and what you really want to write about don't become tangible. When you're calling scientists, they may not say what you want them to say, or maybe they say too much, or maybe they don't say anything at all. So that can be hard. Next, structure and style. So my first edit came back and they said, this is an essay, we want news. Okay. And then editing. But what I was really trying to do was turning all this scientific jargon into something that all of us could engage with. So just like Winnie said, it was a process of editing. All the blue is not me. And some more. And a little tip, do not take it personally. But that I learned that journalism and writing these articles is a learn as you go process. And I think that anyone in the field would say the same thing, except for maybe Gus, who's sitting with us today. So then you kind of look at your main idea and realize that, the bird doesn't even know you're writing about them. And it doesn't matter how good your draft is that you're handing in to your boss. Instead, it's the readers. And for the lab, the common mediator are birds. And so the two main outlets that were used and are used is the All About Birds website, which reaches over 16 million viewers in a year, and the Living Bird magazine, which reaches about 18,000 people. 80. Sorry. I knew I was going to mess that up. That's okay. So that 80,000 people. So I'm here to talk to you about the impact of a main idea and how it makes you a good story and the simplicity of where your mind needs to be. So essential tips. You need to make this about more than just a bird. In all of your research, you want to squeeze out the juiciest thing you can find and make sure that everyone else wants to hear about that juicy thing too. Next, make something more interesting than it seems to be. I think all of us have a little bit of background in science, and you know how, droning and boring that can be. And finally, what appeals to the reader? So I learned that it's emotions. It's kind of getting your reader in on a secret. It's making them think about something that they know in a different way. And for the readers of this magazine, it's from people who like to watch birds in their backyard, and it's people who literally dedicate their whole life to one species, which I still think is crazy. So I'm going to give you a few examples of some stories I did this summer. And the first main idea we're going to talk about is the attention grabber. So I did a story about the black-capped petrel. The black-capped petrel is a seabird native to the island of Hispaniola. If you don't know, that's the Dominican Republic and Haiti. So in all my research, I talked to some really cool people and I gathered information on the history, the culture, the conservation impacts, but most importantly that a team, mainly the South Carolina Fish and Wildlife Service, was able to catch 10 of these birds out at sea and put GPS tags on them. Okay, if I'm a reader, geese in my backyard have tags on them, but why is this cooler? So we needed to narrow that down. So the black-capped petrel kind of stages something of a mystery in the birding world. That's because the estimated breeding pairs is more than the amount seen on the island of Hispaniola. So GPS tagging these means that if we're following them, they maybe will be taking us somewhere new, a new island, somewhere we've never been before. Next, a new finding. So in science, research articles are coming out every day, thousands, millions. What makes this finding better than the others? Why do readers want to read this? So I did a piece on something called eruption. Eruption is an irregular migration of birds south of where they live. Bless you. So that's like Bohemian waxwings and pine siskins. And birders love this because they get to see these birds they usually don't get to see. But now all of a sudden this new research comes out that, the birds don't like this because there's increased levels of mortality after these years of eruption. But then the idea kind of fell through for a little because this increased level of mortality after these eruptive years doesn't actually have a long-term effect. So now what? So now we have to look at the main idea in the context of eruption as an event. And so there was another study that recently came out about how the climate is what helps the birds during eruption. So this was like, the climate is usually something bad, right? Now readers are seeing that the climate is something good. And so in this way, we were able to take the main idea and make it into a two-way street. And in that way, the readers were able to think of eruption, something that they just know is, oh my God, this bird is in my backyard, to, wow, this is something that's a little more important and something that we actually don't know much about. And then finally, and this is something that I did a little research in the communications class before I entered the internship, is what if the particular science you are communicating is politicized? And so although not much of my stories or work that was done did face this problem, I learned a few things. So I think in our society today, many things can be politicized, conservation itself, some people care, some people don't. And so I had to ask myself that what is the role of this large, nonpartisan scientific organization? And that is the responsibility to communicate knowledge to the readers, to new birders, to anyone who's listening. And in doing that, that is stating the facts, remembering, this is something I still don't remember, that quality over quantity, and getting expert opinions. And in this way, when you're presenting and communicating science to someone, they can look at it and form their own opinions rather than feeling that you're giving them a side. So hopefully this kind of gave you a little intro to science journalism and gave you the idea that a centered, strong main idea will help ignite something of a spark in your reader. So thank you to everyone and this program. Yeah.